They say a man only breaks once, but as Lieutenant Aaron Vay's face slammed into the cold slab of an alien torture table for the 13th time, he wondered if the universe had miscalculated. His jaw ached, his ribs sang like broken instruments, and still he managed to choke out a laugh. The KRYTH Dominion commander standing above him snarled, its mandibles clattering in rage. "You think this is funny, human?" the creature hissed, its breath reeking of sulfur. Aaron coughed blood and grinned. "I'm just wondering if you charge extra for the dental work. Because if so, I'll need a receipt." The alien's clawed hand twitched. That was when Aaron knew he was still winning, even while bleeding out. The KRYTH Dominion were infamous for their methods. 1,000 systems whispered tales of prisoners who begged for death within hours. Aaron had been here 3 days. 3 days of needles and nerves, plasma burns across his skin, and sound frequencies designed to shred the human mind like glass. He had sung Earth war songs, insulted their mothers, if the insectoids even had mothers, and asked repeatedly if they could at least dim the lights, because his complexion burned easily. They wanted secrets. Earth's hidden defense satellites, the codes for planetary shields, the coordinates of the Ark colonies. And Aaron, stubborn to the marrow, refused. The torture chamber itself was a cathedral of cruelty, every wall lined with devices dripping alien fluids, tools humming with surgical menace. Aaron catalogued them all with the sarcastic precision of a bored shopper. "Oh look," he had muttered once. "A chainsaw crossed with a blender. That'll look great in the kitchen." Every time he opened his mouth, the guards flinched between laughter and fury. If Aaron was destined to die here, he was determined to be the most irritating corpse the KRYTH Dominion had ever disposed of. On the 3rd night, after another round of agony that left him barely breathing, the commander leaned in close. "You are nothing. A number. A fragile animal clinging to a dying planet. We will strip your world bare." Aaron, unable to move his head, whispered, "If I'm nothing, then why are you so scared of me?" The alien's eyes glowed. For the first time, it looked unsettled. They were not used to prey talking back. Then it happened. A ripple in the air, subtle at first, like heat shimmer. One guard collapsed, throat slit by something unseen. Another was hurled across the chamber by a force that made no sound. The commander spun, hissing orders, but the lights flickered and the shadows themselves seemed to move. Aaron thought maybe the pain had finally broken him. Hallucinations were expected at this stage. But the wet sound of alien blood splattering the floor was too vivid to dismiss. Something was in the room, something that did not belong to the KRYTH. Aaron blinked hard through the haze of agony. The figure emerged slowly, stepping out of the shimmer. Tall, human-shaped, draped in armor so black it swallowed the light. Its face was hidden behind a mask smooth as glass. No insignia, no rank, nothing to identify it. It moved like a phantom, each step silent, each strike lethal. Within seconds, the chamber was littered with alien corpses, their mandibles twitching in death spasms. The commander tried to retreat, but the figure was there, hand crushing its throat, before twisting until silence claimed it. Then the phantom turned to Aaron. For the first time in 3 days, Aaron felt fear. He rasped through bloody lips. "So, you're either my rescue party or death itself. Any chance you're here with a fruit basket?" The figure tilted its head, then crouched down. A hand reached out, pale skin exposed as the gauntlet retracted slightly. The touch on Aaron's restraints was almost gentle, and with a hiss the shackles fell away. Aaron slumped forward, coughing, staring at his savior. The mask gave nothing away. No sound, no breath, no sign of life. And yet, he could feel eyes studying him from behind it. The phantom finally spoke, voice low, mechanical yet unmistakably human. "You were not supposed to survive this long." Aaron's laugh came out broken, more blood than humor. "Yeah, well, I'm stubborn like that. Name's Aaron." "You." The figure paused. "I have no name. No record. I am the ghost." That should have been the end of the terror. But instead, Aaron felt a chill. The KRYTH Dominion were monsters, yes. But monsters obeyed rules. They tortured, they demanded, they threatened. This ghost, this thing that moved like shadow and silence, obeyed none. And somewhere deep in his battered mind, Aaron understood, if the KRYTH feared him, then Earth had unleashed something even they could not control. Aaron staggered to his feet with the ghost's help, legs trembling, but his mouth still sharp. You know, for someone called Ghost, you're awfully solid. Just saying. False advertising. The ghost did not answer, only scanned the carnage as though already forgetting the lives it had ended. Aaron frowned. He had no idea if this was rescue or recruitment, or if he'd just been claimed by something far worse than alien chains. The ghost led him out of the chamber, bodies left cooling in silence. The corridors were empty. No alarms, no pursuit. As they walked, Aaron noticed cameras sparking and failing wherever the ghost passed. Doors slid open without touch. It was as if the very ship feared this being. His soldier's instincts screamed questions, but his voice betrayed only defiance. So, Earth sent you. Secret project, right? Classified. No record, no files. I get it. You're like the ultimate bureaucratic nightmare. The ghost did not deny it. They reached an escape hatch. Beyond the glass, the stars burned cold and distant. Aaron leaned heavily against the wall, every inch of him raw with pain, but something in his chest flared, a dangerous thing called hope. Yet that hope twisted when he realized something disturbing. Wait, he said slowly. Why are there no alarms? No reinforcements? KRYTH don't just roll over. The ghost's masked head turned toward him. Because they are already gone. Aaron blinked. Gone? The ghost nodded once. They abandoned this sector the moment I arrived. Aaron's laugh echoed down the corridor, wild and pained. So let me get this straight. Earth's enemies are terrified of you, Earth itself pretends you don't exist, and I'm standing here bleeding out while being rescued by a government typo? Fantastic. Just when I thought my week couldn't get any weirder. The ghost opened the hatch, darkness spilling in. You are alive. That is all that matters. Aaron stepped forward, feeling the abyss beyond, and realized the nightmare had only just begun. Aaron Vay had learned long ago that silence was dangerous. The KRYTH tortured with noise, endless frequencies that shredded the brain. Silence, on the other hand, meant something far worse was preparing itself. Now, sitting in the corner of a stolen shuttle while his rescuer piloted with inhuman precision, Aaron found the silence unbearable. The ghost did not speak, did not move except to adjust the controls with gloved fingers, and somehow that made Aaron's bruised ribs ache more. He shifted in his seat, winced, and muttered, You're really committed to this whole mysterious act, huh? I mean, I get it, dramatic entrances, silent exits, makes for great storytelling. But I've been tortured for 3 days. You could at least throw me a knock-knock joke. The mask did not turn, but Aaron swore he saw the faintest tilt of the head, like amusement that refused to be acknowledged. The shuttle systems flickered, some cutting out completely, others sparking back to life as if deciding whether to function. Aaron reached toward a panel and pulled his hand back when he felt a static charge crawl across his fingertips. Okay, he said, rubbing his hand. Not touching anything. I'll just sit here quietly and let you haunt the machinery. That word stuck in his head. Haunt. The ghost wasn't just a name. Everything about him seemed to unnerve technology itself. Cameras died, sensors failed, systems shorted. And yet here he was, flying a KRYTH shuttle with such ease it looked like an extension of his arm. Finally, the ghost spoke, voice low and edged like steel dragged across stone. You are weak. You will heal, but slowly. Aaron chuckled despite the ache in his chest. Thanks for the pep talk, document. Next you'll be telling me to eat my vegetables. The mask remained forward, focused on the void outside. Do not joke about survival. Survival is not a luxury. Aaron's smile faltered. He wanted to retort, but something in that tone silenced him. It was not cruelty, nor arrogance. It was emptiness. A voice that had spoken too long in the absence of companionship. After a few minutes that felt like hours, Aaron asked, So what are you? Human? Machine? Some weird hybrid the brass cooked up in a basement. No answer came. Aaron leaned forward. I mean, you bleed, right? I saw it. A cut on your arm back in the cell. Red. Human. But the scanners didn't pick you up. The KYTH looked like they'd seen a ghost, and trust me, I've seen scared aliens before. This was different. They weren't afraid of what you might do. They were afraid of what you are. Silence again, though Aaron thought he heard a faint exhale behind the mask. He sat back with a sigh. Fine. Keep your secrets. But just know, mystery man, if you don't answer soon, I'm giving you a name. And it's going to be something terrible. Like Sparkles. Yeah, Sparkles the ghost. You want that? Didn't think so. The shuttle jolted as it broke atmosphere on a desolate moon, one of the abandoned refueling outposts left behind after the early skirmishes with the Dominion. The ghost landed it with precision, powered everything down, and stepped into the shadows of the docking bay. Aaron followed, limping slightly but determined not to show weakness. The bay smelled of rust and dust, the air stale and cold. Cozy, Aaron muttered. You really know how to pick vacation spots. The ghost ignored him, sweeping the area with inhuman calm. Aaron tried again. So what now? You rescue me, dump me on a rock, and vanish into legend? The ghost finally turned, mask gleaming under dim light. You must return to your command. They will not believe you. They will deny I exist. But you will know. Aaron blinked. Wait. They'll deny you? Are you telling me Earth doesn't even admit you're real? The ghost's voice lowered. There are no records. I was never born. I was never sent. To them, I am nothing. Aaron stared, momentarily forgetting the pain in his body. That's insane. You're standing right here. You just killed half a KRYTH torture crew. You hijacked a shuttle with your haunted hands. And you're telling me my people don't even acknowledge you? The ghost tilted his head, as if weighing the burden of truth. Belief does not matter. Fear does. Aaron exhaled and sat on a nearby crate, head spinning. It wasn't the blood loss this time. It was the dawning realization that he might be caught between enemies and allies who both lied. He rubbed his temples. Great. So Earth pretends you don't exist, the KRYTH runs screaming at the mention of you, and I'm the idiot who actually has to work with you. Lucky me. The ghost moved closer, silent, every step calculated. You are alive. That is rare. Aaron looked up sharply. Rare? What do you mean rare? For a long moment, the ghost said nothing, then finally answered. Most who meet me do not survive. Not because I kill them. Because their fate has already been written. Aaron tried to laugh, but the sound came out thin. You really need to work on your bedside manner. The ghost crouched slightly, mask inches from Aaron's battered face. Do not mistake me for comfort. I am not here to save you. I am here to end them. Aaron swallowed hard. The words carried no malice, no threat directed at him, but they chilled him all the same. Whoever this ghost was, his war was personal, not patriotic. Aaron realized then that he was sitting beside someone who terrified an empire, and had no allegiance to anyone, not even the world Aaron bled for. They spent the night in the station, Aaron dozing in and out of consciousness while the ghost remained motionless, watching the stars through a fractured viewport. Once Aaron woke to find the mask turned toward him, silent as always, and he muttered, You really don't sleep, do you? Figures. Ghosts never do. No answer came, only the shifting of the mask back toward the void. Somewhere deep inside, Aaron wondered if this figure envied his exhaustion, even his nightmares. When dawn broke over the barren surface, the ghosts prepared the shuttle for departure. Aaron climbed aboard, his strength returning just enough to crack another grin. You know, Sparkles is really starting to grow on me as a name. Suits your cheerful personality. The ghost paused, gloved hand hovering over the controls. For the briefest second, Aaron thought he heard something that might have been a laugh. Or maybe it was just static in the comms. He couldn't tell. And that uncertainty, he realized, was the most unsettling thing of all. The shuttle cut through the void with a smoothness that unsettled Aaron more than turbulence ever could. He sat strapped into the co-pilot's seat, watching the stars streak past. Every so often he glanced at the ghost, who remained motionless at the controls. There was no chatter, no reassurance, no banter. Just silence and the hum of stolen engines. Aaron finally broke it with a weary sigh. So we're heading back to Earth's fleet, right? Command's going to want a debrief. Maybe even a medal for surviving KRYTH hospitality. His voice carried false confidence. The ghost did not respond. Aaron rubbed his temples. Right, forgot. Medals aren't your thing. Being terrifying and silent is. As the shuttle neared the coordinates of Earth's orbital fleet, Aaron's heartbeat quickened. Home, or the closest thing to it. Ships glittered in formation, sleek destroyers and hulking carriers circling like guardians of the planet below. For 3 days he had been nothing more than a prisoner kept alive for amusement. Now he was returning with secrets he didn't understand and a rescuer who might not even be human. He braced himself as docking instructions flickered across the console. The ghost guided the shuttle imperfectly, systems bending to his will even as half the sensors malfunctioned. When they touched down, Aaron felt his body relax for the first time in days. He turned to the ghost. You coming with me, or do you vanish into thin air the second the door opens? The mask tilted slightly, then faced forward again. They cannot see me. Aaron frowned. What do you mean they can't see you? You're right here. Solid as steel. The ghost said nothing more, only gestured for him to exit. Aaron stepped down the ramp into the familiar bustle of the hangar. Engineers rushed to and fro, pilots barked orders, and the scent of metal and fuel filled the air. A cheer rose as he appeared, battered but alive. Fellow soldiers rushed to greet him, clapping his shoulders, marveling that he had survived. Aaron laughed, though the sound was thin and strange in his own ears. He glanced back at the shuttle, expecting to see the dark figure looming there. But to his shock, the ramp was empty. No one else stepped out. His eyes darted around the hangar. Nothing. Not a whisper, not a shadow. It was as if the ghost had never been there. High Command wasted no time summoning him. Aaron found himself seated in a briefing chamber surrounded by uniformed officers. A holographic recorder whirred as a stern admiral leaned forward. Lieutenant Vay. You endured capture by the KRYTH. You returned alone. Report. Aaron's mouth went dry. He cleared his throat and launched into the tale. The torture. The endless questions about Earth's defenses. And finally, the arrival of the ghost. As he spoke, he expected disbelief. What he did not expect was the cold, calculated silence. The Admiral finally interrupted. Lieutenant, there were no additional life signs on your shuttle. Our recordings show only you disembarking. You were alone. Aaron's voice sharpened. That's not true. He saved me. He killed every guard in that chamber, piloted the ship, brought me back here. You're telling me none of you saw him? Another officer leaned back, folding his arms. Perhaps trauma has clouded your memory. Prolonged exposure to KRYTH interrogation can induce hallucinations. You are fortunate to have survived at all. Aaron slammed his hands on the table, wincing at the pain in his ribs. Hallucination? You think I imagined the ghost? The KRYTH didn't look at me like I was their problem. They were terrified of him. You can bury the truth all you want, but I know what I saw. The room shifted uncomfortably. The Admiral's expression remained stone. Lieutenant, there is no record of such an entity. Do you understand? No record. The words carried weight, a warning more than a statement. Aaron leaned back slowly, the implication chilling him. They knew. They were hiding it. For reasons he could not fathom, Earth Command refused to admit the ghost existed. Later, in the quiet of the med bay, Aaron lay on a cot as machines scanned his injuries. Nurses patched him with practiced efficiency. But his mind was elsewhere, circling the memory of the ghost's words. No name. No record. Never born. It all made sense now. The reason the fleet refused to acknowledge him. He was a secret so deep that even those who witnessed him were forced into silence. Aaron stared at the ceiling, anger and unease gnawing at him. What kind of world had he been fighting for, if it erased its own soldiers? That night, long after the med bay dimmed its lights, Aaron woke with a start. A shadow loomed by his bed. His hand shot to the pistol under his pillow, but the figure raised a hand. The ghost. His voice was little more than a whisper. "You spoke of me." Aaron exhaled, relief and exasperation mixing. "Of course I did. What was I supposed to do? Pretend you didn't exist? They already think I'm crazy." The ghost remained still, his presence like a wall of ice in the room. "They will deny. Always. But you know. That is enough." Aaron pushed himself upright, ignoring the sting in his ribs. "Enough for what? To fight beside you? To cover up for you? I don't even know whose side you're on." The mask tilted, unreadable. "Side does not matter. Only the end." Aaron shook his head, a humorless laugh slipping out. "You're a real inspiration, you know that? No wonder they deny you. You sound like a nightmare with legs." The ghost turned toward the viewport, where the stars shimmered cold against the black. "They fear me. The KRYTH run from me. And your people erase me. But you, Aaron Vay, you are different. You endure." The words hung heavy in the silence. For once, Aaron had no sarcastic reply. He just stared, realizing that for all his pain and defiance, he might be the only man alive who had seen the ghost and lived to speak of it. The following morning, Aaron was summoned again, this time to a private chamber. The admiral stood waiting, hands clasped behind his back. "Lieutenant," he said evenly, "you are to be commended for your endurance. But this matter of the so-called ghost ends here. Do you understand?" Aaron swallowed hard, then nodded, though his mind rebelled. He understood, but he did not accept. As he left the chamber, his gaze flicked to the shadows along the corridor. He could not see the ghost, but he felt him there, silent, watchful. A presence erased from every record, yet more real than any medal or commendation. And Aaron knew, deep in his bones, that his story was no longer his own. He had stepped into the path of something larger, darker, and infinitely more dangerous than the KRYTH. The ghost was real. And he was only just beginning. The stars over the fleet shimmered with deceptive calm, but every officer knew the storm was coming. The KRYTH Dominion had been humiliated by the prison massacre, and the whispers of a phantom tearing through their ranks. Their retaliation was inevitable, and it would not be small. Reports came in of massive fleets gathering near the fringe colonies, devouring outposts and leaving only wreckage. The Dominion declared Earth a threat beyond measure, a disease to be eradicated from the stars. Soldiers walked the decks with tighter jaws, commanders barked orders more sharply, and every corridor buzzed with preparations for a war that promised extinction if they faltered. Aaron Vay moved among them, still limping from his wounds, and felt their unease pressing on him like gravity. He wanted to tell them what he knew, about the ghost, about the strange weapon Earth secretly held, but the order from high command rang in his ears. No record. No acknowledgement. Silence at all costs. In the quiet of the briefing chamber, Aaron found himself staring at a hologram of the enemy fleet. The projection flickered with outlines of ships so vast they dwarfed Earth's carriers. A general pointed with a firm hand. "The KRYTH intend to strike the colonies at Rose Station within the week. If they gain control there, Earth loses half its supply lines." The room buzzed with tension. Another officer asked how they could possibly counter such force. Suggestions flew, but every plan sounded like suicide wrapped in strategy. Aaron raised his hand. "We don't have to outgun them. We just have to make them afraid again." Heads turned, eyes narrowing. Aaron leaned forward. "The KRYTH fear the ghost. I saw it in their eyes. They abandoned a whole sector because he appeared. If we use that fear, if we let them think he's everywhere, we can unbalance them." The room fell into an uneasy silence. The admiral cleared his throat. "Lieutenant Vay, We've already explained. That entity does not exist. Aaron smirked bitterly. Funny. He seems pretty good at existing when he feels like it. The glares warned him not to push further, but the thought burned inside him. Later that night, Aaron found himself dragged into something he hadn't expected. The ghost appeared in his quarters, silent as ever, and told him bluntly, "They will fail. You will help me prepare them." Aaron blinked, sitting up from his bunk. Prepare them? You mean train them? You want me to turn the entire fleet into ghost wannabes? The ghost didn't flinch. They must learn to fight without eyes, without signals, without records. The KRYTH hunt with technology. Strip it away. Teach them to be shadows. Aaron groaned. You know, normal soldiers like guns, orders, and a good cafeteria. Not whatever it is you're suggesting. The ghost leaned closer. Then they will die. Within days, Aaron was thrown into the strangest military exercise of his life. Squads were ordered into training bays stripped of lights, sensors disabled, weapons jammed. The ghost moved among them, striking like a predator. Soldiers cursed as they stumbled in the dark, bumping into each other, their voices giving away positions. Aaron shouted through the chaos, trying to keep morale up. Don't think like soldiers. Think like rats. Small, fast, mean. Rats survive everything. A groan from one corner answered, Great, we're fighting an empire with rat tactics. Laughter broke out even as men tripped over crates, and for a brief moment the tension eased. But then the ghost would appear, silent as death, and remind them this was no joke. He demonstrated how to listen for air shifts, how to sense movement without sight, how to use silence as a weapon. Many failed miserably, some even walked out frustrated, but slowly, painfully, a few began to adapt. One evening after a particularly brutal session, Aaron sat with a squad of exhausted recruits. One young soldier rubbed his bruised face and muttered, This is insane. We're soldiers, not ghosts. Aaron laughed through his own soreness. You think I signed up for this? I got dragged into it the hard way. Trust me, you'd rather train than learn it chained to a wall. Another soldier leaned forward. What is he really? That thing training us? Aaron looked around, then lowered his voice. He's what happens when fear gets a body. That's all I know. It was half a joke, half the truth, and the squad went silent, eyes darting toward the shadows as if the ghost might be listening. But the unease wasn't limited to the rank and file. Rumors spread quickly that the ghost was among them, teaching the fleet in secret. Officers whispered, some fearful, some furious. It didn't take long before betrayal found its way into the ranks. One night, Aaron was summoned to a secure chamber where the Admiral's voice was ice. Lieutenant, someone leaked sensitive data. The KRYTH now know the ghost is active with us. Aaron stiffened. Then you admit he exists. The Admiral's glare was sharp enough to cut. This conversation never happened. But understand this, whoever leaked that information has doomed us all. The KRYTH will stop at nothing to kill him. The weight of those words sank into Aaron like lead. He returned to the training bays, where the ghost moved silently between recruits. They know about you now, Aaron said quietly. The mask turned toward him. They always knew. Now they are desperate. Aaron clenched his fists. There's a mole here, someone in command. They sold you out. The ghost's voice was steady. Then they will reveal themselves soon enough. Aaron shook his head. You're awfully calm for someone who just got a target painted on their back. The ghost answered with chilling finality. I was born with it. As days passed, tension reached a breaking point. The KRYTH fleet began moving faster than anticipated, their ships massing in brutal formation. Every intercepted message spoke of their obsession with finding and destroying the ghost. Colonies were burning in their path, civilians fleeing with nothing but what they could carry. Soldiers grew restless, half motivated by the strange training, half unnerved by it. Some began to joke nervously, calling themselves the Invisible Brigade, or the Rat Pack. Humor became their shield, their way of surviving the unending pressure. Aaron fed it, making cracks whenever the ghost glided silently past. See? That's how you do it. Light as air, creepy as taxes. Copy him and you'll live longer. Laughter echoed even as fear gnawed at them. Then came the news that changed everything. The KRYTH had set course for the heart of the colonies, a massive armada with enough firepower to flatten entire worlds. Time was gone. The fleet had to act. Aaron stood on the bridge of his ship, staring at the glowing red markers swarming the map. He felt the weight of every soul in the colonies pressing on him. He thought of the ghost's words, about fighting without records, without sides. He knew the coming battle would not just test weapons, but the very will of humanity to adapt or die. And as the alarms blared and the fleet mobilized, Aaron realized something terrifying. The ghost was right. This was no longer Earth versus KRYTH. It was survival versus annihilation. And the only chance they had lay in the shadows. The War Council chamber was dimly lit, the glow of tactical displays washing over tense faces. Fleet commanders debated strategies with raised voices, desperation leaking through their composure. Aaron sat silently at the edge of the table, watching arguments collapse into frustration. Plans of direct confrontation were useless against the sheer scale of the KRYTH armada. Outnumbered and outgunned, the fleet was running on borrowed time. When the shouting reached its peak, Aaron slammed his palm on the table and stood. Stop pretending we can win this fight the same way we've always fought. You all saw what happened at Rose Station. They are terrified of him. The ghost is the only weapon we have. The room fell into silence, every pair of eyes narrowing at him. One commander hissed, Lieutenant, we already told you. That thing does not exist. Aaron leaned forward, voice sharp. Tell that to the KRYTH who ran screaming when he appeared. Tell that to the soldiers he's training right now. You can bury your heads in records, but I bled beside him. He is real. The Admiral's expression hardened, signaling the conversation was over. But in that silence, Aaron realized something. The truth about the ghost would never come from them. It had to come from the ghost himself. Later, Aaron found him standing at the edge of a dark hangar, gazing out at the stars as if waiting for something. The mask reflected the dim lights, unreadable as always. Aaron approached, frustration boiling in his chest. Enough riddles. Enough silence. You're going to tell me who you really are. No more half-truths. The ghost did not move, did not even turn his head. Aaron's voice grew sharper. I've watched men break their bodies to learn from you. I've seen aliens flee at the sight of you. You terrify everyone, and yet Earth denies you. I deserve the truth. The ghost finally spoke, his voice low, almost weary. You will regret knowing. Aaron stepped closer. Try me. For a long moment, nothing. Then the ghost reached up and pressed his gauntlet against the side of his mask. With a hiss, the helmet disengaged, sliding away to reveal a pale, scarred face. Aaron blinked. He saw a human man, but not as he expected. The skin looked weathered, like someone who had lived far longer than his years should allow. Eyes burned with something darker than rage, older than pain. The ghost's voice, unfiltered now, was raw. I was once a soldier, like you. I fought at the siege of Kalin. I died there. Aaron's brow furrowed. Died? You're standing right here. The man's lips curved into something too bitter to be a smile. My body was recovered. They had a project, a secret one. To test if death itself could be denied. They erased me from records so that if I failed, I would never exist. But I did not fail. I did not live either. I became this. Aaron's chest tightened. The pieces fit together too perfectly, yet the truth was more horrifying than he had imagined. So you're not alive. Not dead. Just stuck. The ghost nodded slowly. I have no home, no family, no record. Only orders. Orders to fight wars no one else could. Orders to be the weapon they could deny. His eyes flicked toward Aaron, piercing. Do you understand now why they erased me? Aaron swallowed hard, his sarcasm drained. Because you're proof that they played God. And because they created something they can't control. The ghost's silence was answer enough. For the first time since meeting him, Aaron felt something more than fear or curiosity. He felt pity. Yet the ghost did not ask for it, did not want it. He stood there, unflinching, as if daring Aaron to recoil. Instead, Aaron chuckled weakly. Great. I'm friends with a government typo. Figures my luck would end up like this. For the first time, a ghost of a smirk crossed the man's scarred face. Better than being friends with a corpse. The moment of levity faded quickly as alarms wailed across the hangar. A voice echoed through the intercom. KRYTH fleet detected on intercept course. Estimated arrival in 12 hours. Aaron and the ghost exchanged a glance, both understanding the weight of it. There was no more time for secrets. Only action remained. Aaron straightened. We can't fight them head on. You know it. I know it. So what's the plan? The ghost's voice turned steady again, the mask sliding back into place with a hiss. We lure them into a trap they cannot see. Their flagship will fall, and with it, their will to fight. Aaron frowned. That sounds suicidal. The ghost answered simply. It is. Together, they worked in secrecy, crafting a plan so reckless only desperation could justify it. The ghost would infiltrate the KRYTH mothership, unseen by scanners, slipping past defenses no human could survive. He would sabotage the core from within, while Aaron led the fleet into a frontal assault meant only to distract. The ghost would trigger the destruction, but he would not escape. Aaron argued, cursed, shouted, but the ghost remained unmoved. I was never meant to live, he said coldly. Only to end wars others cannot. Aaron slammed a fist against the table. That's not good enough. You saved me. You taught them. You matter more than a weapon. For once, the ghost's voice softened, almost human. If I matter, then remember me. That is enough. When word of the plan leaked, whispers spread through the fleet like wildfire. Some called it madness. Others called it their only hope. Soldiers prepared for battle with grim determination, their humor sharper, their fear hidden behind jokes. Guess we're betting it all on the boogeyman. One muttered, earning nervous laughter. Aaron stood before them, rallying their courage. The KRYTH think they can break us with fear. But they've never faced ours. They've never faced what we have. Today we fight with shadows at our side. The cheers that followed were ragged but real, and for the first time in weeks, Aaron felt belief take root. That night, before the final mobilization, Aaron found himself alone with the ghost one last time. He stared at the masked figure, words failing him. Finally, he said, You're not just a weapon. Not to me. The ghost tilted his head, as though uncertain how to respond. At last, he placed a hand briefly on Aaron's shoulder. Then make sure they remember you. I never will be. With that, he turned and vanished into the shadows, leaving Aaron standing alone, the weight of sacrifice pressing harder than the war itself. The fleet sailed into the abyss like a wall of steel against the storm. Every vessel hummed with tense energy, soldiers at their stations bracing for what all knew would be the bloodiest engagement in human history. Alarms pulsed in rhythm with beating hearts, and the black void ahead grew thick with the outlines of the KRYTH armada. Hundreds of massive ships emerged from the dark, their alien hulls glowing with strange energy, each one a floating city of destruction. Aaron stood on the command deck of his destroyer, eyes fixed on the largest of them all, the KRYTH mothership, towering above the rest like a leviathan. He felt the cold weight of the plan in his chest. The ghost was already inside, invisible to every sensor, slipping through alien defenses like smoke. Aaron could not see him, no one could, but he knew he was there, moving with silent intent toward the ship's heart. The comms erupted with chatter as the KRYTH made their first strike. Beams of searing plasma lanced through the void, tearing through shields, ripping lesser ships apart in violent bursts of light. Aaron barked orders, his voice steady even as fear gnawed at his gut. Hold formation! Draw their fire! Make them believe we're reckless enough to challenge their core head-on! His ship shuddered under impact, sparks showering the bridge, but the crew held fast. Around them, Earth's fleet poured its fury into the enemy line, missiles streaking and railguns roaring. For every KOITH ship that fell, 3 more pressed forward, unrelenting, monstrous in scale. It was chaos, fire and death painted across the stars. In the midst of the carnage, Aaron's mind drifted to the ghost. He imagined him moving through alien corridors, unseen by the countless soldiers swarming the mothership. He pictured the pale scarred face beneath the mask, eyes burning with the weight of a man who had already died once. And in that thought he found strength. If the ghost could walk into the heart of the Dominion's might without flinching, then Aaron could stand his ground here. He straightened, teeth clenched, and shouted for the fleet to push forward. The closer they drew, the more they sold the illusion of desperation. The KOITH commanders believed Earth was foolish enough to throw themselves against the mothership, never realizing they were only buying time. The trap was simple and impossible all at once. The ghost would sabotage the core reactor of the KOITH mothership, destabilizing the entire fleet's command center. But to do it, he had to remain behind. The thought gnawed at Aaron like acid. He remembered the ghost's final words before vanishing into the shadows. Make sure they remember you. I never will be. The bitter truth of it burned. The battle raged, hours dragging like lifetimes. Ships exploded around them, screams filled the comms, and still the fleet pressed on. Aaron's voice grew hoarse from shouting, his body trembling with exhaustion, but he refused to waver. Then, suddenly, the ghost's voice crackled through the private channel in Aaron's ear, cold and calm as always. It is done! Aaron's breath caught. Ghost, are you clear? Do you have an exit? There was a long silence before the answer came. No. The path closed when I reached the core. But the trigger is primed. Aaron gripped the edge of his console until his knuckles whitened. Then wait, I'll find a way to get you out. We'll send a team, we'll. The ghost cut him off, voice steady, almost gentle. No team would reach me. You know this. Do not waste lives. Finish this war. The words hollowed Aaron's chest. He wanted to rage, to curse the universe for giving him hope only to rip it away. But there was no time. The KOITH mothership glowed with unnatural light, its systems unraveling from within. The ghost had done it. Aaron clenched his jaw, his voice breaking as he gave the order. All ships, fall back. Now! The fleet disengaged, scattering as the enemy began to panic. The KOITH lines fractured, confusion and fear spreading like wildfire. The mothership's core overloaded, light spilling out in cracks across its massive hull. For one breathtaking moment, the stars themselves seemed to pause. Then the explosion came. It was not a blast, not in the usual sense. It was a detonation of such magnitude it felt as though reality itself shuddered. The mothership tore apart in a blaze of white fire, shockwaves ripping through the enemy fleet. KOITH vessels buckled, systems frying, their discipline dissolving into chaos. Earth's ships, battered and bleeding, seized the moment. They struck with everything they had left, tearing through the scattered remnants of the Dominion. Hours later, the battlefield was nothing but debris and silence. Against all odds, Earth had survived. On the bridge, Aaron stood surrounded by cheers and tears. Soldiers embraced, officers wept, survivors whispered disbelief. They had won. But Aaron did not cheer. His gaze fixed on the empty void where the mothership had burned away. Somewhere in that fire, the ghost had ended his second life, alone and erased. Aaron's throat tightened. The victory tasted like ash. When the fleet returned to Earth, the celebrations were unstoppable. Cities roared with triumph, banners hung from every tower, songs filled the air. Official records proclaimed the brilliance of Earth's commanders, the courage of its soldiers. Nowhere was the ghost mentioned. No report, no name, no acknowledgement. The war had been won without him, according to the archives. Aaron listened to the speeches with a bitter smile. They could erase him from the records, but not from memory. Not from Aaron. One evening, long after the cheers had faded into the night, Aaron walked alone through the ruins of a captured KOITH outpost. In the rubble, something glinted. He bent down and lifted it, brushing dust from its surface. A dog tag. Human-made, battered and scorched, with no name engraved. Blank. He turned it over in his hand, the weight of it pressing down harder than any metal. A ghost's legacy. Aaron closed his fist around it, and whispered into the silence. You were real. And I'll remember. The wind carried the words into the stars, and for a fleeting moment, he thought he felt a shadow move beside him, unseen, silent, still watching. Then it was gone, leaving him with nothing but the blank tag and the knowledge that some heroes live without record, and some sacrifices can never be erased.